Welcome everyone to another Channel Partner Tech video. This video is focusing on some of IronCAD's innovative part design capabilities, specifically with imported data. So let's go ahead and get started, and we're just going to go ahead and import some geometry. In this case, we're going to import a step file, but of course we can always pick any one of our standard formats or even native geometry from other CAD systems like SolidWorks or Inventor to import. But let's go ahead and import a step file to get started. And if some of you have seen this part, you are not mistaken. It has actually been out on some of the LinkedIn forums out there in the world that someone was using to show some direct modeling capabilities, and I thought this would be a good example to also show or highlight some of IronCAD's capabilities and to show a few differences of why you need direct editing mixed with some feature-based technology. So let's go ahead and get started. In this model, let's go ahead and make a few changes, and I just want to show you a few different ways and behaviors of IronCAD of how we do our changes. And for example, let's look at this top arc here that we have, and maybe we want to make some modifications to this. And IronCAD provides multiple ways of doing this and multiple results. For example, if we select down to our face level, or that handle that you just saw appear, we can turn on the tri-ball in this case, or pull the handle, and you would get a result that's the same as moving the geometry. If you look at the preview, you'll see it's actually moving that face, changing the radius definition, and giving you a result, which is one possible way you may want to alter this geometry. And let's go back 1 second here. Maybe that's not the case of geometry, what we want to make. Maybe we want to actually just change the radius of this. And before I go any further, I do want to highlight this is just imported single geometry. There are no features behind this. So let's go to the geometry again, to the face level. Instead of doing a move operation, let's do an edit face radius. In this case, let's just go ahead and just make it 2.6, let's say, and go ahead and make a change. And you'll notice, if I undo that and redo it, look down here in the corner, notice that these attached blend features or filleted features, even though they're not a feature in IronCAD, they know they're attached to that geometry. When we made that modification, they automatically moved and extended out with that geometry change. So very simple modification. Well, what if we also want to do some additional modifications that this hole pattern needs to move out or stay centered with that hole? Well, IronCAD, especially in 2013, there was new features added that when you go down to one of these faces and actually convert them to one of our IntelliShape features, like faces to IntelliShape, you select that, notice it picked up the entire pattern that was generated there. It knows that this was a radial pattern of holes and knows that they are linked together. So if a modification to the hole itself or the feature definition, if you notice I click down one more time, you'll see the sketch. If I make a modification to the radius, for example, in here, and make it bigger, notice they all change. If we also want to move this out, well, we need to know that distance, so let's just do a quick measurement here. We can just use a smart dimension in this case. Maybe we just pick that radius center, and we'll pick up the center point of this geometry. We can go and edit this dimension just to get the value. We could have done a measurement as well. We don't need this anymore. But now we can go into our pattern, paste that value in, and we move our pattern out. So basically essentially moving it exactly where we need it to, and the entire pattern updates. Well, let's look at some other geometry. Now, in the demonstration I saw on LinkedIn, it was very interesting that they wanted to change this pattern up here at the top to be just one complete cutout, which you could do in a variety of ways. For example, we don't need these blends here. You can select these blends, defeature the model by just deleting geometry, hitting the middle mouse button to continue, take the handle, pull it all the way through, and notice even though I'm pulling it straight in this case, it knows that there's a curvature that's on that geometry and pushes it all the way through and maintains that curvature. So you can end up with this as a result. But this is one of the big problems that I find in traditional direct editing systems that are out there. At this stage, there's no real way to make a change back to where you were before. For example, maybe this particular stage of the design, it wanted to be one cutout, but what if it comes back and says, oh no, we actually need to make that 2 or make it 3 individual cutout spaces? Well, if you look at the shape, it's still one B-rep. There are no cutouts here anymore. So what do you have to do? You have to start adding geometry back to this to get back to that original shape, or delete this out, recreate it by doing an extrude. That's where the direct editing kind of falls on its face. It doesn't know how to deal with that type of change. Whereas the feature-based modifications can give you a lot more power. For example, in this case, maybe we want to go ahead and just recognize these as our own internal features, even though it's B-rep right now. We can go ahead and turn those into our own features, and you'll notice in the tree 2 features appeared, 2 extrude shapes appeared here. And then we can do just any type of modification we want with standard sketch geometry. So if we go and edit the cross section, We can see the sketch here. We can select this corner here, say let's do a rotate. Let's not rotate there, let's rotate about the center here, and just simply maintain all of our associations, drag it over to some distance we need, make that modification, and apply. Okay. The benefit of this is we have that definition. If we need to go back, we can go back to the extrude, move it back, copy this around. We have this definition. We could delete this one out, copy this one, and make 3 pieces if we wanted to. So that's the benefit of having the features. We can make very simple modifications and maintain some intelligence to the geometry. But even in IronCAD, even if this is just a quick design modification that we need to get out the door, we don't care about that. What if we want to make another modification that's easier? For example, what if we wanted to make this radius change a little higher? Well, yes, we could go into the sketch, edit the cross section, and do simple curve properties. Just make that 2.25, make it a little bit bigger. You can see the change. And repeat the same thing for the other side, but you'll notice there was no tangencies here. I didn't know what to do with this geometry. So this is where your features kind of come down and cause you problems, where you have to make sure that these are all constrained together into the sketch before you make modifications like that. But in our case, again, we can quickly make the change just by selecting this guy, edit the face radius. Even though these are two of our own native features, it'll recognize both of those. Let's just make that 2.25. Again, it'll tell us, hey, these 2 features are going to be combined in order to make that modification, and it simply just makes the modification for us, nice and easy. Okay, ideally in the future we would like to have an option possibly here, similar to what you can do in Structure, that you can maintain the features and also do a direct editing as well. So you could actually edit the cross section, then reapply this edit face radius, for example. So that would be something we would like to enhance in the future, but you can see the benefits of both in this example. But again, you don't need the features to do a lot of modifications. For example, for these radiuses here, we can select both of them or individual, edit face radius. It's 0.25. Let's make it. Let's just make it a little smaller, 0.2. We can make both modifications there easily. We can, if we wanted to build feature definitions, we can just pick one, face it to IntelliShape, and notice again it recognized that guy as a pattern. If we move this out, let's just say make that 1.8, we can see that change. Notice both moved out because it's part of the pattern definition. Again, if we make the modification, since they're linked, we can make it smaller, bigger. Both will update and maintain that change. The beauty of direct face modification, it gives you a lot of power as well. You can do a variety of things. For example, maybe we want to remove this cutout and change it into a chamfer. Very simple for us. We can do a match face if we wanted to match that face to this face, or just select both of those faces and do a delete face and hit middle mouse button to continue to get rid of that. Then we can simply select on the edge, on the edge itself, and select chamfer and drag however big we want. Go ahead and apply that. Again, middle mouse button, or click on the command in the browser to do that modification. Some other changes we can do down here. Do want to highlight some of the various differences that you can see in other direct editing systems. Some have these capabilities, some don't. For example, again, we could go to the face itself, use the tribal to move it down, or we can use the handles, because the handles will appear on every face that we move along. And notice if you open up your browser, your property browser, you'll see some of your auto face grouping. For example, coplanar will allow us to select this face. Notice you'll see that highlight of the other face at the same time. And I'm going to show you the difference of what this maintain face size option does. For example, if I pull this face out, notice the geometry just extends the curve on both ends and gives you a final result. If you do repeat that operation, but in this time we actually select maintain face size, notice a different result. When we pull this out, that face will maintain its size, and you'll see these angles actually adjust to achieve the result. So this one maintained vertical, this one actually changed its angle to achieve that modification. You can also just pull this handles and notice that these are not recognized as blends yet, they're just pure geometry, but even if I pull this handle, notice that face knows how to maintain those associations and moves it with it. You can pull these handles. The downside with pulling the handles, you can only do like an offset distances inside of here. You don't know the distance. Another way you could do it is turn the tribal on, snap it down here, move it off an offset. But even a better yet, another way to do it is to get out of the move face command first. Another way to do it is just select to the face, use your smart dimension at the face level, pick the face, pick a reference, and notice it's a purple dimension. This is actually driving a direct face modification driving dimension. that we can actually just right click, edit this value. Let's just make it say 1.25 from that side. Okay, you can apply, and you can see that modification apply there. If you click off and click back, you'll see the updated dimension. Okay, so you can just drive that face by that dimension value, which is really slick and handy. Again, various things you can do on this part. I'll just kind of continue to play around with this and just make some modifications. For example, if we wanted to recognize this blend, we could go in here and edit the face radius if we don't want to make it a feature. If we do want to make it a feature, you can see now it's actually a feature that we can actually see the value, make that maybe 0.1, make it a little bit smaller. We can still continue to modify geometry in here. I want to open up your scene browser so you can see what's going on here. Notice that's a feature in our tree. Even if I make modifications to geometry that's associated with that, for example, I can pull this up, maybe make a radius change inside of here. Notice the blend is still maintaining itself as a pure feature of IronCAD. It didn't care what those changes were. Even if I come in here and say, well, let's make this tapered. We want to do a taper face. Pick the face you want to taper about, what value you want to taper about, 5. You can see that we are now tapered there, and notice the blend is still maintained. Its association is still a feature of IronCAD. So simple changes in IronCAD to make some of these modifications in here, but very easy for IronCAD. Even if we wanted to take these guys here, faces to features, you notice it created one blend feature here for us to edit. If we wanted to change the value, we could edit them individually or edit them both at once. Maybe make that 0.2. You can see modify those, and the modification is updated. So very simple for us in IronCAD to really take advantage of our innovative design capabilities to use direct editing to make modifications quick and easily to the geometry, or even take our feature recognition capabilities to build geometry to give more intelligence, like pattern definitions, or even to rebuild sketch definitions to give us a little bit more control, more capability than what you would have with just a pure direct editing system. So hopefully this gives you a little bit better idea of how the innovative design mixes both direct modifications and features together to give you a lot more power than what you will find in a lot of the demonstrations or even use models that people are presenting with these direct editing systems. Hope you enjoy, and we'll see you on the next one.